evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. Welcome, I'm Shivani Gupta. Today, we're bringing to you stories of COVID warriors, people who are going out of their way to make sure that they can strengthen the fight that India is mounting against this second COVID wave that is continuing to create devastation across the country. People from across several sections of society in their own way, big, small, large, are giving their best as far as the efforts are concerned, and today we are bringing to you 4 such efforts. Joining me first up, let me introduce our special guest. Lara Dutta, noted model and actor, is joining us, and she's here to talk about the fundraiser that she is mounting with celebrities and corporates this Sunday. Filmmaker MANISH MUNDRA is joining us on the show. He's been a hero during the first wave as well, and he's doing more, as is his mantra, during the second wave as well. Santhan Selvan is a cycling enthusiast dubbed as the Cycle Mayor of Hyderabad, who's part of a large volunteer effort called Relief Riders, who are providing essential facilities and medicines to those who are vulnerable and the elderly already, but are also now mounting a COVID relief as far as this is concerned. And Dr. Anjan Ray is joining us from the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Indian Institute of Petroleum, who are making more than 100 PSA oxygen plants. Remember, oxygen continues to be the greatest demand in the country. So from film industry to filmmakers to ordinary citizens to scientists and researchers, we have everyone on the show. I want to first go across to Lara Dutta, who's joining us. Lara, I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about this virtual fundraiser that you're doing this Sunday. This is going to be part of an effort to raise as much as 15 crore rupees with the help of celebrities, sports persons and corporates. Give us a sense of how all of this came together and who all we can look forward to seeing in this fundraiser.
So of course, Shivani, we've been trying to, put together a virtual fundraiser in a very short amount of time being really of the essence. And there are a lot of fundraisers across the globe that a lot of celebrities have, undertaken over the last couple of days. Of course, the need for funds, for supplies, for oxygen cylinders, oxygen concentrators coming into the country has never been more urgent than it is right now. So, the idea was really to be able to mobilize as much as we could, as quickly as we could. And we had Thai Global, which is the Indus Entrepreneur Forum that is based out of Silicon Valley. They actually reached out to us, and they are the ones that actually initiated this fundraiser. So there have been a lot of people. I've constantly had a lot of people, a lot of corporates, from across the globe who kind of reached out and said, we want to do something, we want to donate, but where are the right avenues to donate? How much is really going to be helpful? How do we make what we're giving really count? And Thai Global reached out and said, we would like to match up to $1 million, in donors, in sponsorship for funds that are raised out of India. And therein was born the idea of doing a virtual fundraiser that's going to happen on the 9th of May. So this Sunday between 6 and 8 p.m. And I'm really overwhelmed with the amount of support that we've got, not just from within my own film industry, but also from the corporate sector. We have some incredible people. We have Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar, we have Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, we have Mr. Anupam Kher, Anil Kapoor, Ankur Tiwari, Abhishek Bachchan, Radhnath Swamiji, just Taran Johar. I mean, it's been really overwhelming, the amount of support that has come in. So we're really looking forward to a successful event taking place on Sunday.
Yes, yes. What I found really unique about your initiative, Lara, is that apart from oxygen concentrators, which everybody's trying to help on, you're also looking to give cash reliefs to people, to families who've lost their primary breadwinners. And, that would go a long way in helping people who've lost, sometimes both their parents in some cases.
Yes, so all of the funds that are being collected over this fundraiser are all going to Give India. And Give India obviously is one of the most accredited platforms within the country. So we've also been working very closely with them to ensure that maximum amount of money, so at least 90% of the money that is raised goes directly to the NGOs that they work with. So it's multi-pronged really. Give India doesn't just give funds to NGOs. They actually procure the equipment for them so that the NGOs themselves are not dealing with the paperwork. They're not dealing with trying to get things through customs and excise duties and things like that. So all of the material, when it actually comes to the medical supplies, the oxygen concentrators, the cylinders, all of that is procured by Give India, and then that is distributed throughout the country. So there are three different channels for that as well. It will be distributed via the government. It will also be distributed directly to verified hospitals. And the third channel is through verified NGOs that are doing on-ground work. So that's where all the medical supply end of thing is. But in this, yes, the urgency right now is to solve India's oxygen problem and oxygen scarcity. But COVID is going to have a far-reaching, aftermath effect that it's going to leave in its wake. And there are a lot of families today that are already affected. Children who've lost possibly one or both parents to COVID, families that have lost their primary breadwinners. So the idea of being able to actually support these families with a cash, donation, I think is extremely important in rebuilding society itself once we're able to come out of this and go forward. So 30,000 rupees is going to be going into every family that requires COVID help and relief in from having suffered from the aftermath of COVID. That will be also be undertaken through very verified NGOs that work and will identify these families on ground.
I want to bring in Manish Mundra also on this, because Manish, you're someone I spoke to during the first wave, and when the lockdowns were first instituted in 2020, the situation was so new for us. And you were sitting in Nigeria at that time, and you were arranging PPE kits for the frontline workers. After that, of course, India became a producer of PPE kits, but you also organized ration and several other volunteer work. Most of the time, you spent a lot of your own money. And this time around, you're working on oxygen concentrators, ventilators, etc. So you're part of an effort now of getting in as many as 2,000 oxygen concentrators. Just tell us more of what you're working on this time.
First of all, thank you, Shivani, for having me back here. And it's always a pleasure to be here. As you're aware, in this second wave, our utmost important aspect, what we could find out was oxygen, source of oxygen. And oxygen concentrator, besides the oxygen plant, became one of the important requisite to fight against the second wave. So we immediately started working on it. And unfortunately, we found out that not many companies in India do produce oxygen concentrators. So we started looking across the globe, and we could find out in Asia, in Americas, Europe, and we could order almost more than 2,200 oxygen concentrators, out of which 250 have already received. I just tweeted about 1,100 are about to start tonight, and day after tomorrow. And then 500 we had got from Russia. So they will also fly back in India by on 12th. So the point I want to drive is, it is very important that these oxygen concentrators, which are of two range, both 10 liters and 5 liters, are important for the patients who are in the initial mild to moderate symptoms. And if we can reach them, the idea is to create an oxygen bank in various cities. We have identified almost like 20 cities, and we are sending 50 to 100 concentrators in these cities with the volunteers, so that we can rotate these oxygen concentrators across. And whenever somebody is in need, we send it to their home. And when the need is done, we get it back and send to others and lend to others. That will help us to save life and also rotate the equipment and save more and more, and maximum utilization of the equipment can happen. So we started just now, we started one in Jodhpur. In fact, I have just come from the launch, the soft launch, which we did just now, where we have collected more than 500 concentrators. And then we have identified a lot of other cities like Nagpur, Nashik, in Jharkhand, Ranchi, Devghar, Lucknow, Varanasi, Delhi, Bombay, Pune, as cities somewhere we will be sending these concentrators, and which will start from 9th onwards. So that's the one aspect we're working on. And second, of course, the ration again comes into picture, that we are helping people through supplying them dry rations, and that is very also important from the point of view of those who are in need of food, and because of the situation what they are in, they can't earn, and we should be there to help them. And third important is ventilators. As you remember, during the first wave, we had worked together to develop indigenous companies to develop ventilators, which we were successful. We also started distribution of ventilators. In fact, yesterday was the first 3 ventilators which were supplied in the various hospitals across Mumbai. And the target is to touch 35 in next 7 days. We've already ordered, and they are on the way.
But Manish, even governments are finding it hard to get aid quickly. Of course, a lot of aid has now started coming out. I want to ask you, you spend a lot of your own money. You are not really part of some, effort to raise funds and then procure these. How do you manage this alone? How do you manage this on your own? Where does the motivation come from? Because you must be dealing with a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, or just getting contracts in place, getting people to give you the concentrators. How is all of this individual effort coming from?
It's of course the motivation to serve back the country that is there, but then the truth is that there are also friends who join me. In fact, in this concentrator aspect, one of my company Indorama has joined, and they've also pledged to put in almost 600 concentrators, additional concentrators on this. There are friends and partners who also join hand, but it is always easier to believe in one's own funds so that we can actuate and activate it ASAP without getting into the preview of getting the donations and then acting on behalf of it. It helps us to get into action immediately. And then, like for example, we can give example of Russia when we found out that there are 500 concentrators of 10 liters each, and they need a payment immediately. We issued a transfer of almost $500,000 immediately and secured those concentrators. Otherwise, it would have gone. So the point is, if you wait for donations to come in, it becomes very difficult to gather that amount of money. And then by the time we gather that money, bring the resources and put it back into the logistics system to get to India, it would be too late. So being on its own and depending on one's own fund helps me to be faster, and it helps me to take decisions quite fast, what to do, how much to do, and also gives me personal satisfaction. And the motivation is all in what and how we have been brought up to give back to the society where we have grown from. So that's very simple, and our parents have taught that keep doing, and that's the mantra, that let's do more and more, as much as we can.
Yes, let's do more has been your mantra for more than a year now, and you've really come through. Manish, I don't want to embarrass you, I don't want to cheapen this, but can I ask you, how much of your own money have you used so far overall in COVID aid since the pandemic began?
I have not kept account, but definitely it would be more than 25 crores.
Wow. Well, you are in a privileged position, but not everybody in a privileged position does this. So thank you so much for doing this. Manish, I'm going to come back to you. I want to go across to Selvan also. Like I mentioned, large, small, people from all walks of society are doing their bit. And Selvan, you are part of the relief riders. You're known as the cycle mayor of Hyderabad. There is a chapter in Bengaluru also. So you provide essentials and medicines for the elderly and vulnerable. But you're also putting in an effort through the COVID relief. Can you give me a sense of what the demand has been like since the second pandemic began, and what is primarily the demand that you're getting?
Thanks for having me here, Shivani. Thank you. And as you said, the relief riders, we are trying to deliver medicines to the elderly and vulnerable. We don't want them to come out of their home. That is what we are actually doing. But demand-wise, we are actually seeing the real when we actually have this phone number open, and we are able to see the real pain in the society. Every day we just started like last week. It's only 1 week we started, and then every day we get about 100 calls, and there are a lot of emotional stories here where it's very difficult for people, and we're trying to address that actually.
So what is it that people need the most right now? What are the calls that you get?
Yeah, mostly the medicines mainly, and then the very much essential items like groceries and all. But most of the calls are related to medicines. So there are many senior citizens who cannot actually come out. And then there are COVID patients who cannot come out. They are lonely. And there are, the US, we get calls where the kids are there, and the kids in the sense the son or daughter are there, and there's a lonely parent here. There is a mom here alone. There is a dad here alone. These kind of stories. It's very yeah. That's the so these kind of stories. Yeah. And in fact, there is
So how many riders do you have, Selvan, and how many people are you able to serve on a daily basis?
yeah, so far we have got, that's a positive side where we have every day we get more and more volunteers, and today about 150 volunteers are there, who are all cyclists, serving their they are all working professionals, and thanks to them, and they are spending their time go and deliver, and we follow all the safety precautions to deliver and all.
All right. I also want to go across to Dr. Anjan Ray, because remember we talked about oxygen concentrators that are being brought in, and Lara and Manish both are working on this, but there is also a war footing, an effort going on to build oxygen plants in India. And the DRDO, the Defense Research Organization, is actually the one that is leading this fight through PM Cares Fund as well. And the CSIR IIP comes under that. Dr. Anjan Ray, you've developed or tweaked the PSA technology that is being used for oxygen manufacturing through these plants a little bit to come out with a slightly more frugal and more efficient version of this. Just give us a sense of what your innovation is and how it's being used.
Right now, it's not really about one innovation versus another. We need all the oxygen we can get. And there are multiple ways to get oxygen to a patient in a hospital. The commonly considered method is cylinders, and that's okay when there is no strain on the system like there is today. The next option, which is there in many large hospitals, is liquid oxygen tanks. So the oxygen is made somewhere else. It is supplied to the hospital in a liquid state in tankers, and it is simply evaporated and blown into the oxygen lines for the patients. But in a place like India, where we have a very decentralized healthcare infrastructure, it just makes sense to make your own oxygen at the point of production, as long as you have continuous power availability. Electricity is required for this. So you take the air. Air is mainly nitrogen and oxygen. Close to 98% of air, 99% of air is nitrogen plus oxygen. So you pressurize a bed of adsorbents, kind of like a clay, with nitrogen and oxygen. The adsorbents hold on to the nitrogen, and the purified oxygen passes out and is made available to the patient. Then now, because the nitrogen is filled up in the adsorbent, you depressurize the adsorbent, remove the nitrogen, and start over. So this concept is very well known in the world. The defense in India has been using it for years. And this concept is called pressure swing adsorption, or PSA. You'll see this in all the media, all the references. And DRDO has done a fabulous job of this over the last few years. So now they are finding it very easy to roll it out. What we have done is a frugal innovation on this, that instead of depressurizing the column to remove nitrogen, we apply vacuum, so we are able to remove the nitrogen faster. So for a smaller machine, we are able to produce roughly the same amount of oxygen as a bigger machine. That is the major innovation in our system. So it also reduces the overall power cost slightly. And you can think of it as a next generation PSA. We call it a PVSA, a pressure vacuum swing adsorption plant.
You know, this just goes on to show that we do not have any lack of brain power in India. And if we just put our minds into it, collective efforts, we can come up with better technology. So the technology that you're describing, Doctor, is more efficient than, let's say, a bigger plant, as you say, and at the same time, more cost effective.
This is more cost effective, not by a very, very large margin, but because it takes less space. So less steel on the ground, less management, it is more cost effective. Whatever money we saved in this, we are investing in what's called a SCADA and IoT system. So that little saving we invest back in the machine to make it Internet of Things enabled. And I can run a machine, let's say in Latur, sitting at my desk in Dehradun.
So what's the capacity that you have under DRDO that is making 500 such plants? You're making 120 of them, or at least they are making 120 of them using this technology. So how quickly can this come up at a hospital, for example? What's the timeline like?
It is very quick to install, but it takes time to build, especially with so much backlog of orders. So we're working very closely with DRDO. And as part of the National Oxygen Emergency Response efforts. And today, the kind of orders we have, or rather our vendor partners have, because we are a research institute, we don't produce, right? We get it manufactured. I think we are backed up by more than 2 months at this time. So whatever orders we have will take us through to the end of July to deliver.
And can you finally also tell me, doctor, how one such plant helps how many patients in a hospital?
Okay, again, the answer is it depends. The larger DRDO plants are 960 liters per minute, and our PVSA plants are 500 liters per minute. We can do them in any size, but these are the optimum sizes decided through consultation with the states, regions, etc. And you need between 10 and 20 liters per minute per patient. So a 500 liter per minute plant will support 25 to 50 patients, and a 961 will support between 50 and 100 patients.
Okay. And we hope that these plans come up as quickly as possible. I want to go across to all of our guests once again. So Lara, coming back to you, just tell us how the ordinary Indian can help you. This fundraiser that you're mounting is going to happen on Sunday evening. So what is it that ordinary Indians can do to help out?
We want everybody to be a part of this. So it's not just concentrated efforts of, some celebrities or just stalwarts. This is a public movement. And we're going to be streaming live across all channels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. This event is going to go across all channels on the 9th between 6 to 8. I have a wonderful co-host, Shamal Vallabhji, who's with me, very much part of this with me in getting all of this together with Thai Global, with Give India. So we would really like people to log on, be part of this. We can promise you've got some of your most favorite sports people, favorite movie stars, favorite spiritual gurus who are going to be part of an incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity event that's really taking place. And I think the fact is, people are wondering, I don't have a lot to give. Is it really going to make a difference? Yes, it is. It doesn't matter how much you have to give. We've got a donor who will bolster that equally with whatever you have. So it really actually goes in to make a difference. So that's our appeal. We would like everybody to join us on the 9th of May between 6 to 8. And we really hope to be able to raise a significant amount of money to really help India at this time.
Just want to remind our viewers that this is the I Breathe for India initiative. You can search for this online, and they're hoping to raise $7.5 million through the public and corporates, which will be matched by the Indus entrepreneurs that Lara Dutta talked about. So in total, it's going to be about 15 crores that they're looking at, $2 million and 15 crore rupees. I want to go across to Manish also. Manish, what is it that the ordinary Indians can do to help you out? What do you need from the public?
Actually, we have a great social media team, and a lot of us are working together, be it from the point of view finding beds, finding oxygen beds, finding ICU beds across, and we use social media to reach out people across sections, across the country. That is one thing we all are doing together, and I think we are very, very happy and very proud of that initiative, whether it is midnight or whether it's early morning. Whenever we get a request, we amplify it and it goes across the country, and we are actually successful in most of the cases. That's one thing which we are doing. The second, of course, is what we ordinary people can do is to follow the norms which are being issued by the government to safeguard ourselves, safeguard our family members, masking ourselves and having the social distances and vaccinating ourselves. That I think is the primary focus. And that's why we just also committed almost 1 crore rupees, just committed across to Rajasthan government in initiative to vaccinate people. I think the next best thing what we can do as an ordinary citizen is get ourselves vaccinated and also sponsor at least 2 or 3 other people to be vaccinated. If we can do that, probably we will be able to achieve the vaccination program and drive very fast and fund those who cannot pay for it. So if you get vaccinated, also sponsor 2 or 3 more people, and that will help India to cover this thing. And of course, government would be looking into the supply side. So I think this is the most important thing what ordinary Indians can do to contribute to come out of this deadly virus wave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Final word to Selvan also. Selvan, do you want to make a pitch through our network? What do you need? Do you need more volunteers in Hyderabad? What other cities do you need more volunteers in?
Sure. So basically, like while everybody is working on oxygen, concentrate, beds, ventilators, and all, there is this. This is a niche problem we see where there are senior citizens and vulnerable in the home, locked up. They don't have supplies, groceries, or the medicines which they cannot go out and procure. So that is where we are actually helping. So in order to help, if please share our phone number and poster for Hyderabad, and also in other cities. We have the similar initiative by all the bicycle mayors of Hyderabad, of different cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, and Hubballi, and many other cities. So if you can actually share our numbers to the vulnerable and the senior citizens, because they are not probably in the social media, so they need to get these numbers so that they can directly call, and it's easy to make the phone call, right? So I think that is where we actually help. That's the one side of it where the people can actually forward our numbers. Second side of it is if any volunteers are there in Hyderabad or any of the cities which I mentioned, they can actually join the groups driven by our bicycle mayors in the particular cities, and then they can contribute, because more and more
Okay.
days go through, there is lot of scope to do actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, there isn't enough that anybody can do. There is more and more that we have to do. So we continue to bring such stories through our network, and we thank all of you for joining us today. We'll continue to promote more of these numbers that Selvan is talking about. Thanks a lot for joining today, and thanks a lot for watching.